You know, more than anything, I just want things to be simple, but they're not. They seem that way, they look that way on paper, they look that way on the screens, but everything just keeps getting more complicated. You got passwords for everything. You got to update them constantly. We got hackers, and that's why we can't have nice things anymore. But I feel like a lot of this responsibility should fall on the company end, and that falls flat on its face because they don't care as long as they get their money. And if they don't get their money, whew, man, that's obviously your fault. Just had another episode with my car insurance company, which, in addition to the things I'm about to describe, jacked their insurance rates up another $10 a month without telling me. It's on the pay schedule. Yeah. Go to log into my account for my new ID cards. Come to find out the auto sign-in feature just decided not to do it anymore. You got to use your password. I don't know why. It didn't give me a reason for it. Just either my phone forgot via an update or a patch or something. I don't know. So went to go grab my information, punched in my email address and my password, my login ID and my password. Said it couldn't find my account. My password was wrong, or my ID number was wrong. Neither of them were, by the way. These companies have been pulling this trick for a while. Well, they'll tell you to change your password, and if you don't within a certain amount of time, they'll change it. And they won't tell you what they changed it to, so you have to do it manually. And that's exactly what I had to do here. So then I go to reset password. We've all been through this. You know exactly what I'm talking about right now. Go to input my recovery options. You know, the little questions they pop up with, you got to answer. Got that done. And they sent me the PIN number to activate my reset request, my password reset request. And it said, in the body of the message that you have, what was it, 10, 15, 20 minutes to use the PIN before it's invalid. Well, I put that motherfucker in like 2 minutes later. And it said, this PIN number has expired. What? Every time, every one of these companies, almost to a T, does this crap. Have been doing it for years now. You know, the more technology creeps into our lives, the less it seems to actually serve its function. I think I probably would have been better off with a paper option right now and just let us be able to scan it into a PDF or something at a later date. But there's nothing about the customer anymore. They're not worried about customer satisfaction. They're worried about getting their little piece of your wallet. That's it. Once that transaction's satisfied, their obligations to you are negligible at best. I'm just done with it all anymore. I'm tired of civilization. I'm tired of everything. How much control do we really have over this crap? Not much, insofar as I can tell. We're stuck in this little fucking matrix box they all got us running around on. Our own little private hamster wheels from hell. You got 56 different bills you gotta pay, and all the jobs are paying dirt. And we get the added benefit of convenience. You know, this little Palantir in your pocket, slapped on top of everything. Everything's got to be linked to it now. We don't got to wait for Real ID. It's already here. You're probably listening to this episode through it right now. Wave to your handlers over in Langley. Remember to like, favorite, and subscribe. I think it's funny, one of the YouTubers I listen to, Millennial Steam, said it's illegal to be homeless now because everywhere is private property. Well, everything online is private property and public domain at the same time. This episode, no matter what legal finagling that I do to it, it's at the mercy of the internet, and anybody else that comes along gets their hands on it later. I've been pumping out YouTube and other places around the internet for coming up on 15 years now. So before YouTube, and then certainly during and after YouTube was made, I was putting information on the internet. We all have been. If you're listening to this episode right now, chances are you were steeped in it. There's still a few old heads out there that haven't conformed, don't have phones, don't even have internet, but that's a dwindling minority right now. Which means, with all that information out there on me, on you, on everybody that you know and everybody that you don't know, there's no such thing as private information anymore. It's all public domain, or can be made so very easily. Pretty scary, pretty spooky stuff. So rather than trying to tackle the problem of personal information management, a lot of these corporations, they've done the curling release on putting any kind of effort towards securing your information, because why bother? For one, you're not important enough to protect your information. If you are, you're going to pay extra for it. And what do you get from those programs? LifeLock, Title Lock, protect your deed to your land. How insane is that, by the way? If the federal government put the amount of effort into protecting people's private property that they do into spying on you, you might have a chance in hell. You might. We'll just never know, because we live in current world. So they'll dump billions upon billions of dollars into snooping around in your personal affairs because you might be a terrorist. But actually protecting you? Nope. That's at the bottom of the stack of priorities that's been handed to our alphabet soup agencies and even our local principalities, municipalities, whatever. For a lot of these police charters locally, their first duty is actually to protect private property, ironically enough, but not for you, Mr. and Mrs. America, for the corporations. Because they produce the GDP, the biggest chunk of the GDP. You go there to buy their widgets, and their junk they push to you as healthy food. Organic. We had to come up with a word. Organic. We used to just call it food. Now it's called organic. Whole foods. Whole cloth foods. Trademark. I'm reminded of the old Rant Media euphemism. Everything is fake. Everything is fake now. We've got insurance companies that don't cover jack shit. Something actually happens to your house or your car, you're pretty much fucked. Because these companies will try every way to Sunday to screw you out of any kind of decent settlement. If you get one at all, it'll be months and months down the road. And it will cover precisely nothing. And I'm not even talking about bottom tier, you just paying liability type thing. I mean the premium, super gold, mega diamond, platinum edition stuff. And that still barely covers anything. And you'll be expected to make that payment, that first initial payment. Which most of these repairs, that initial payment is going to fucking murder you. Home insurance, forget about it. Forget about it. Speaking of forget about it, you'd be better off getting your insurance, your protection from Tony Soprano. More ethics there than from half of these insurance companies when it comes to that. Flood insurance, yoink. Fire insurance and the fire belt of America, California, yoink. If they even offer the coverage at all, which a lot of them are pulling it. How many people are still in settlement negotiations right now that had all their shit burned to the ground in Lahaina 2 years ago? That's out of the news cycle. And what's FEMA and other federal government agencies done around Lahaina, North Carolina? The Carolinas flood that happened a little while ago. Nothing. Palestine, Ohio, and that chemical train derailment, which they then set on fire intentionally, and how many billions of dollars worth of personal and private property were infected and affected by that particular intentional or unintentional tragedy. That's out of the news cycle. Hey, let's stretch back even further in time. How about Flint, Michigan? Remember when they were pumping sludge out of the lines there and then condemning people's property because they stopped paying for the sludge to come out of their faucet? I haven't heard anything on that. And, of course, you had the governor, Dick, who was getting water shipped to the government office buildings around that time and telling people, no, the water's perfectly safe. Maybe the new t-shirt shouldn't be, not that everything's fake, but that everything is a grift. Everything's a grift. A scam. Someone's always trying to pull one over on you, and it's usually the people in the highest places of authority trying to do it. And if they're not doing it intentionally, they're doing it out of incompetence. Take your pick, same result either way. Things used to be so much simpler than this. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe it was always like this. We just didn't notice so much. Maybe this is one of the consequences of getting older, is you start piling up enough memories and clues to put the scam together and piece out what it really is. Is this government really serious about bringing manufacturing back to the United States? They keep bouncing around on the tariffs. Doesn't seem like it. We're going to put the squeeze on the EU. The EU is not the one screwing our manufacturing. Do you really think Mercedes and BMW is what's fucking over this country right now? Or is it basically everything else is made in another country? Starts with a ch, ends in an ina? Just saying. Just saying, bro. Cat's out of the bag on that. It has been for a while. Everybody knows. Everybody, especially China. The entire fucking world knows. Y'all don't want to play the game. You want to play a rigged game. Where everybody gets paid dirt. Where you have a serf class that's obedient because of dependency. And all the systems that we rely upon that are supposed to support us in one facility or another, they don't. And a lot of this stuff we've been hamstrung into required to pay for. Or you get the early retirement plan, the pine box. You want health care? ACA, motherfucker. It's not American, doesn't provide real care, and it's definitely not affordable, at least not for everybody. Still a thing. Even now with Mr. Trump in his second term. What's going on there? You know, it'd be one thing if you could actually see some progress on any of this shit, but I just haven't. I haven't. Have you? Maybe if you got the orange-colored goggles on. Or maybe you got the other ones on and everything is screwed in different ways that I don't, folks of my ilk don't see, but it's pretty obvious there's something else going on here. When you have politicians shutting down consumer rights bills, shutting down tax cuts for anybody, any kind of tax cuts come down the pipe. It's the tax cut for the rich. Notice how the talk of we're just going to move to tariffs and we're going to do away with the rest of the taxes, that's gone. That's interesting. Well, if you had another system that could work, and the current one isn't working for the majority of the population, what would be your incentive to continue screwing everybody over? I don't know. Unless poverty is the goal itself. Big brain time. What if poverty on mass scale is the goal? Things start to make a lot more sense then, don't they? You don't want people to succeed. You don't want certain people to succeed. That certain people being a pretty large chunk of the American population. then things start adding up. Maybe I'm just crazy.